We're here at the start for the final of the men's under-17 double at the Royal Canadian Henley Regatta 136th edition. The bottom of your screen in lane 2, we have Seattle. Lane 3, Don's Rowing Club from Mississauga celebrating their 140th anniversary this year. Lane 4, Calgary Rowing Club. Lane 5, Nearad. Lane 6, Sarasota. And lane 7 from Philadelphia, we have Vesper.
Yeah, this should be an exciting race. One thing I think it's maybe exciting or interesting, something the athletes may be drawing on, the Dawn Rowing Club athletes, maybe thinking about what some of their teammates did earlier today, halfway across the world. The junior women's pair that represented Canada were 2 Dawn athletes. They placed 5th today in the A final, so well done to those 2 athletes. And we'll see if John and Christian in lane 3 racing the Dawn crew here, see if they can maybe draw on that success, draw on that inspiration, and see what they can do against the rest of this field.
Yeah, it looks like Dawn got off to a clean start, as well as Sarasota. So these athletes, for a number of them, this would be the first year they've been racing in the finals at Henley. So some of them nerves are going to play into this. It's the first time they've really been on a big stage with a very tight level of competition. Dawn's as well. So far, Dawn's has won 2 of the 3 sculling events here at this year's Canadian Henley Regatta. Christian Goff and John Appleton, they were in the quad that won. And then Eric Seawright also won the under-17 single. So they could be looking to make this a clean sweep of the sculling events.
That sweep of sculling, excellent. Well done, Mike. No, this should be really exciting. I think we saw some really excellent racing. You know, we don't always expect dominant performances out of the under-17 and even the under-19 categories. Sometimes those categories lend themselves due to the inexperience of the athletes. Typically, they tend to have a little more variance, but earlier today in the women's under-17 single, we saw just an absolutely dominant, commanding performance out of Winnipeg. So it'll be interesting to see if we can have maybe a repetition of that in here, the men's under-17 double. But as they approach the 500-meter pylon with 1/4 of the race down, there is not much to give between Calgary Rowing Club, what looks to be Nereid, Dawn Rowing Club, Sarasota. Everyone's really in the mix. No one's been dropped after 500 meters.
Yeah, Seattle's still maintaining contact with that lead pack. That's an impressive feat to see in the under-17 event. These athletes, some of them are very good out of the start. Here you have 6 boats across at the 500-meter pylon. Some of these athletes might be a little surprised to see themselves at the front of the pack, not sure what to do, but you're going to see them, the ones that are going to be successful, are going to draw on their race plans, stay focused on what their coach has told them to do, and make sure that they follow that to a T, because in the small boats you see a lot more jockeying than in the big boats. Yeah,
that is one thing we've really been talking about a lot, I think, over the course of this live stream of all the finals. You really typically don't see, as much as these are under 17s, and I was mentioning there's a lot of variance, or you can get variance in those types of races. The small boats lends itself that much more. The boats don't weigh a lot. The boat speed is easy to pick up or easy to lose. You can see a lot more, as you say, jockeying for positions.
Yeah, Sarasota looking really strong over at the top of your screen in lane 6. Looks like they might have opened up a little bit of a gap here. They're followed closely by Nearad. Looks like Calgary and Dawn are still doing well, tracking Sarasota. Calgary's junior rowing program has certainly improved over the last 5 years. They're starting to bring more junior athletes here, and for them to be in the final is a great accomplishment. This is one of the most popular events at the regatta.
Yeah, one thing I learned earlier about what Calgary does, the location they train, it is a local reservoir, so it's very dependent on the weather, on the conditions, and also on the municipality. So it's really dependent on where the water level is at. So sometimes they might not even get on the water until late May, which can really be challenging, and I think speaks to the pedigree of the coaches, the athletes, and the winter training they must go through to have obviously a very dominant senior women's program. You get athletes like Carl Hare, who used to row as a junior for Calgary Rowing Club. He raced this weekend at Junior Worlds in the men's Coxed 4 for Canada that placed 7th, winning the B final. And of course, Michael Klassen and Jarvis Chandler doing an excellent job out of lane 4 here in the men's under 17 double.
Yeah, Calgary looks like they opened up a slight lead coming through the 1,000-meter mark mark, only a few seconds, but you still saw 4 boats coming through not far behind them. So it's still a tight race. You're going to see positions change. So some of these crews might have put more of an effort into the second 500. Some of them have decided, no, at the 1,000-meter mark, they're going to make a push, maybe around the 12:50. And you can see it looks like Calgary started to bring their stroke rate up a little bit to try and reel Sarasota back in.
And it's interesting to see now Sarasota becoming a bit more of a powerhouse and having more and more competitive crews. Of course, you don't always think of Florida when you think about rowing, but Sarasota, they did host the World Championships last September, down in Florida, for World Rowing, the Senior World Championships, and it's interesting to see, exciting to see, I think, always when a new club, new program really starts to come on strong, and that's what Sarasota has certainly done here and all week here at the 136th Canadian Henley, and today Logan Brown and Owen Core in lane 6 doing a really good job through 3/4 of the under-17 men's double.
Yeah, they're rowing at a fairly conservative stroke rate of about 33 strokes a minute. I was trying to get a rate on Calgary. They look to be a couple of beats higher. So Sarasota, if they feel they're being pressed a bit more, then they can bring that stroke rate up and have a little bit more room to breathe. But Calgary's still tracking them, still within distance of striking through in the bottom 500.
Yeah, and the rest of the field, even the next 4 boats, it did seem to be Seattle just a little bit ahead, but really nothing to give between 4th through 6th place. So no crew is giving in, no crew is giving up. They are fighting down to the final last strokes as we enter into the final quarter, the last 500 meters of this 2,000-meter race. It does seem to be Sarasota's race, but Calgary just a bit of open water behind. They're definitely going for it. As you say, Mike, their stroke rate is higher. They're definitely sending the boat, trying to catch up and close in on Sarasota. Perhaps Sarasota maybe a little more controlled, a little more confident as they approach the red buoys.
Yeah, Seattle at the bottom of your screen in lane 2, looking like they're trying to close the gap. Them and Don's are having a good battle. The Don's boat, coached by Horatio Tandilla, he's done a fantastic job since he's taken over the Don's rowing program, producing a number of Henley winners, consistently putting athletes on the junior national team and Canamex. So it's really been quite a positive addition to the Don's rowing family.
Yeah, Don really having a good showing so far this week at Canadian Henley, and a lot of it, I think, attributed to Horatio.
Looks like Sarasota, they're in the red buoys now. They're going to keep going. They don't have another race left. These athletes are going to be done today. Looks like Calgary is trying to close the gap a little bit. I'm not sure if there's enough real estate for them to reel in Sarasota at this point.
Yeah, and I think Sarasota just rowing still fairly clean. You can't quite see the fatigue in their technique as much as you might see it in Calgary. So I think it is going to be Sarasota taking the win, unofficially, of course. You see it just in the picture-in-picture, a nice celebration, bit of a slap on the water and on the stroke seats back from the bow seat. He is just enthusiastic. Of course, that is bow seat Logan Brown, stroke Owen Core, coached by Caitlin Crouch, all from Sarasota crew down in Florida.
Yeah, that was a really great race for these under-17 athletes to have 6 boats coming across and being so tight throughout the race. It's a good experience for these athletes to take with them as they move on to the fall season. Some of the Canadian athletes will be taking part in the National Rowing Championships out in Burnaby, and some will just use this experience for the fall season or going forward next spring into CSSRAs and the 137th Canadian Henley.
One thing I wanted to note, we just saw in the picture-in-picture the crews as they're all coming across the line. One thing I always like to see, and one of my favorite moments after any race, regardless of how I finished, you get the camaraderie. You get the, hey, how's it going? Like, good race, well done, a lot of nodding we saw in the picture-in-picture there. So these under-17 athletes being excellent sports, lots of friendships being built across the really continent here. So good to see.